It's a sad reality about life that for every winner there must also be losers. Movies are no exception. Though filmmakers rarely set out to intentionally create bad movies, to hope never, they can still come about due to a variety of reasons such as studio meddling, lack of budget, hostility on set, or other unforeseen circumstances. Sometimes these find themselves into a category of so bad it becomes good, such as Fred the movie, but other times they sap all enjoyment from the viewing experience and leave audiences angry about their lost time. Animated films are especially notable when they turn out rotten due to the time and effort needed to complete them. More often than not, they're not even fun to sit through thanks to the bottom of the barrel skips and low quality CGI that produces the stuff of nightmares. Welcome to Popcorn Programming, and here are the 10 worst animated movies ever, according to us. Pop. In number 10, we have Happily Ever After, from 2006, directed by Paul Bolger. Once upon a time, a powerful wizard, voiced by George Carlin, ruled over Fairy Tale Land, tasked with ensuring all fairy tales reached their happily ever after, and keeping the scales of good and evil in balance. One day, he decides to go on a trip to Scotland and leaves his assistant Monk, voiced by Wallace Shawn, and Mambo, voiced by Andy Dick, in charge of his duties. Unfortunately, while observing the story of Cinderella, they allowed the evil stepmother Frida, voiced by Sigourney Weaver, to unbalance the scales, ruining all the happy endings and summon an army of fairy tale monsters. Happily Ever After ranks among the worst animated films of the 2000s due to its premise and lackluster comedy, feeling like a dated attempt to copy Shrek and Hoodwinked style of structured fairy tales. However, what makes the film truly unbearable is just how boring it is. Every character, joke and story beat has been done better elsewhere, and while the cast is full of talented actors, they end up feeling super wasted. In number 9, we have Elf Bowling the Movie, The Great North Pole Elf Strike, from 2007, directed by Dave Kim and Rex Piano. That's a great name. During the golden age of piracy, Santa, voiced by Joe Alaskey, directed his crew to steal toys while secretly sending them to children. When he and his half-brother Dingle Kringle, by Tom Kenny, that's also a great name, Dingle Kringle, are thrown overboard by the crew, and they somehow make their way to the North Pole and are rescued by elves who believe Santa is destined to leave them. Santa and Dingle are both given immortality, but when Santa forces Dingle to move out, he decides to challenge Santa to a game of elf bowling to decide who will be in charge of Christmas. No, I'm not making that up. Based on the computer game of the same name, Elf Bowling the Movie pads out its runtime with one confusing decision after another. Santa's pirate origins are new, but the film doesn't explore them outside the opening, instead opting for toilet humour and a confusing plot that reuses the same story beats numerous times. It's also full of pointless and poorly constructed musical numbers, including one where Dingle sings an upbeat song about slavery. In number 8, we have The Christmas Tree from 1991, directed by Flammarion Ferreira. When Judy, voiced by Karen DeGrasse, and her family moves to a new town, the mayor assigns her to work with Miss Mavilda, voiced by Helen Quirk, who runs the local orphanage. When she arrives with her 2 children, she learns that Mavilda is a cruel and greedy woman who neglects the children, causing them to turn to a pine tree named Mrs. Hopwell for emotional support. As Judy does what she can to better the children's lives, Miss Mavilda becomes jealous and attempts to get her fired. While The Christmas Tree has moments that can fall into the so bad it's good territory we spoke about earlier, what makes it so painful to sit through is the audio quality. Casting children who clearly haven't acted before is already rough, but when combined with the fluctuating microphone quality and horrible editing, it becomes a constant assault on the ears. The creepy animation, cliche story, and distorting morale of you always win when you are good don't do the film any favours either. In number 7, we have Leo the Lion from 2005, directed by Mario Cambi. After seeing his mother fall over a waterfall while hunting, Leo, voiced by Neri McCorey and Daniel Ammerman, swears off meat and develops a fear of water, which alienates him from the other lions. One day, he meets a pregnant elephant named Savannah, voiced by Simona Martini and Amanda Allen, and helps us deliver her babies. To keep the elephant safe from an evil elephant named Maximus Elefante, voiced by Carlo Conti and Matthew Mercer, Leo attempts to lead them to the fabled heart of the jungle and gathers more animals along the way. Leo the Lion is a confusing movie that only gets more so the longer you watch it. Though the film tries to portray Leo's vegetarian lifestyle as valid and something he should be proud of, the animators make him look like he's starving to death, which sends mixed signals and forces an ugly design onto the audience. The rest of the film is bloated with annoying side characters, Mexican hyenas and random songs. The worst surprise comes at the end when audiences are treated to the nightmare fuel that is Leo and Savannah's hybrid children. In number 6 we have Mars Need Moms from 2011, directed by Simon Wells. When young Milo, voiced by Seth Green and Seth Dusky, is sent to his room for misbehaving, he tells his mother Joan Cusack he'd be better off without her. Later he feels bad and goes to apologise, only to watch as aliens from Mars abduct his mother. Milo stows away on the ship and soon meets a man-child named Gribble, voiced by Dan Fogler, who explains that the Martians kill human mothers to power their mom robots. Mars Need Moms is one of the worst films to come from Disney, and time has only made it harder to stomach. The motion capture technology results in uncomfortable levels of Uncanny Valley, especially on the Martians due to their ugly design and exaggerated human-like anatomy. The narrative is also rather confusing. Its title suggests that the film is light-hearted and fun, but it actually contains a lot of dark imagery from totalitarian states to children watching their mothers die. In number 5 we have Norm of the North from 2016, directed by Trevor Wall. Norm, voiced by Rob Schneider, is a polar bear who is both Prince of the Arctic but also ostracised because he has the rare ability to talk to humans. Makes sense. One day, humans begin building houses in the Arctic, and Norm makes it his mission to get rid of them. Norm travels to New York City with his 3 lemming friends, voiced by Trevor Wall, and becomes the mascot for Mr. Green, voiced by Ken Jeong, the man building the houses who secretly captured Norm's grandfather, voiced by Cole Meany. Norm of the North feels like a low-budget, straight-to-DVD knockoff of more successful films like Madagascar and Despicable Me. Watching the movie is an endurance test. The audience is bombarded by constant dance numbers, extended sequences of the lemmings urinating, and mounting frustration as Norm doesn't realise that his actions are helping the villain, instead of saving his home. Speaking of the villain, Mr. Green is probably the strangest aspect of the film due to his constant movement, sped up animation, and Jeong's ludicrously over-the-top performance. In number 4, we have the Emoji Movie, directed by Tony Leondis. Within the phone of a young boy named Alex, voiced by Jake T. Austin, is Textopolis, a city inhabited by emojis whose job it is to make a single expression whenever Alex uses them to send text. However, Gene, voiced by TJ Miller, the son of 2 meh emojis, can somehow make multiple expressions, which causes him to mess up one of Alex's texts to his crush, Addie, voiced by Tati Gabrielle. Now deemed a malfunction and on the run from the lead emoji, Smiler, voiced by Maya Rudolph, Gene teamed up with the Forgotten High Five, voiced by James Corden, and a hacker named Jailbreak, voiced by Anna Faris, to reach the cloud so that Gene can be fixed. The Emoji Movie is a textbook example of how not to make an animated family film. The film's predictable and paper-thin story feels like a Disney and Pixar clone, with none of the same heart or creativity found in Toy Story or even Wreck-It Ralph. Instead, we get Sir Patrick Stewart voicing the poop emoji, who speaks only in toilet puns, being proof that you can give a man everything, including an Academy Award and those are such things, but the lure of paycheck is sometimes too strong. You also have horrible product placement through the use of Just Dance and Candy Crush as important plot points, and overall unfulfilling character arcs that are done much better in other movies. In number 3, we have Titanic: The Legend Goes On from 2000, directed by Camillo Tetti. As the RMS Titanic prepares for her maiden voyage from England to America, numerous eccentric passengers board the ship. The most prominent include Angelica, voiced by Francesca Guadagnino, and Lisa Russo, a young woman abused by her stepfamily who longs to find her mother, and William Francesco Pezzulli, Mark Thompson Ashworth voice him, an upper-class man travelling with his elderly maid. As the human passengers mingle, talking animals also board the ship, including a family of Yiddish mice, a trio of mariachi mice, and a rapping dog. If any of that sounded familiar, that's because Titanic: The Legend Goes On made a bold choice in combining numerous Disney and Don Bluth films with one of the most famous tragedies of the 20th century. Unsurprisingly, it didn't work. This film is not only insensitive to the memory of those who died, but it insults the audience by bombarding them with cheap animation and dozens of side characters fighting to see who can waste the most time. The animal characters are the worst, as their plot doesn't even connect to the human storyline and feels like an excuse to shove racial stereotypes into the film. At least we don't have to talk about the Titanic anymore. Oh wait, number 2, The Legend of the Titanic from 1999, directed by Orlando Corradi and Kim J. Oke. An elderly mouse named Top Connors, voiced by Stefano Crescenti and Sean Patrick Lovett, tells his grandchildren the real story of what happened on the Titanic. Forget what you've heard before, this is really what happened. While working on the ship, Connor befriends a Brazilian mouse named Ronnie, voiced by Maria Teresa Xella and Anna Mazzotti, and Elizabeth, voiced by Emmanuel Rossi and Jane Alexander, a human woman whose father and stepmother arranged for her to marry the greedy whaler Everard Maltravers, voiced by Luca Ward and Gregory Snegoff. When Elizabeth falls for a Romani man named Don Juan, voiced by Vittorio Guerrari and Francis Pardelheim, Connor and Ronnie try to help her in her love quest, while Maltravers makes a plan to gain worldwide warring access and sink the ship with his talking shark allies. Titanic, the legend goes on, was bad, but at least it's remembered that the Titanic sinking was a tragedy and showed that not everyone survived. The same could not be said for the legend of the Titanic, which sanitizes the event by making everything due to the machinations of an evil whaler and his shark allies, who trick a friendly giant octopus named Tentacles, voiced by Oliverano Dinelli and Jane Alexander, into throwing the iceberg at the ship. The cherry on top of this disrespectful Sunday is that it ends with Tentacles and a legion of whales working together to ensure that nobody dies. Somehow that's not number one, because what is actually number one is Food Fight from 2012, directed by Lawrence Kasanoff. When the lights go out in Marketropolis, the mascots of the various products come to life and mingle. Their most beloved mascot is Dex Dog Detective, voiced by Charlie Sheen, a serial mascot who works to keep the aisles safe from crime. One day his girlfriend, Raisin mascot Sunshine Goodness, voiced by Hilary Duff, goes missing, and when Dex is unable to find her, he quits being a detective. However, he's pulled back in when more mascots go missing following the arrival of Lady X, voiced by Eva Longoria, the mascot of the new Brand X generic products that are flooding the market. Food Fight reportedly cost around $50 million, but you wouldn't believe that based on the final product. The animation is ugly, with grotesque characters and unnatural movements due to an arbitrary design by the directors who switched to motion capture. If the visuals weren't enough to leave you uncomfortable, the film is full of vulgar jokes that range from racial stereotypes to gross out humour and a disturbing amount of sexualized imagery. Instead of even the most basic respect for the medium of animation, Food Fight is little more than an ugly product placement, making it perhaps the worst animated film ever. And there you have it, there's our list. So what do you think? What is the worst animated film you've ever seen? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button if you're new around here. But please guys, I had to watch a bunch of really bad animated movies for this. That's all for now, so thank you for watching and we'll see you later. Pop pop!